Hi guys, we are here with yet another question in your capital taxes, which is on inheritance and CGT. And let's approach this question with a clearer understanding of various provisions. And see, this is, by the way, a relatively recent question. So something like this has been tested very, very recently, which is all the more reason for you to pay proper attention. Okay, what is the requirement? Assume that today's date is 1st of June 2025. Anya will die on 6th of September 2026. How morbid. Seems like this is a planned murder. They have specifically told ki yaar, she will die on this particular date and then you have to do her tax planning. Regardless, let's see how this situation unfolds. Explain the CGT and IHT implications of the proposed gift of painting uh, to Violet on 1st of August 25. In relation, okay, so let's do one by one. CGT and IHT implications of the proposed gift of painting to Violet. Anya requires advice on the CGT and IHT implications of a gift of a painting, CGT and IHT relief available on a gift of shares, and the impact on post-tax income of the gift of shares. Anya is tax resident and domiciled in the UK, has never been married or in a civil partnership, has one daughter Cara and two granddaughters Flava and Violet. So Flava and Violet, you're talking about the gift to Violet, she is a granddaughter, all of whom are tax resident and domiciled in the UK. She has made only one previous lifetime gift on 31st of March 24. She gave Kara an investment property valued at 3,90,000. You should assume that Anya will die. And when was the gift given? She has made only one previous lifetime gift on 31st of March 24. She gave her daughter Kara an investment property valued at 390. Anya is proposing to make the following gifts: 50,000 cash to Flava on 1st of July 25, a painting to Violet on 1st of August 25, all of her ordinary shares in Chusky Limited to Kara on 1st of September 25. Proposed gift of painting: Anya purchased the painting on 8th of July. The value of the painting on 1st of August will be 63,000. Now, proposed, so we have to talk about the gift of painting. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the CGT perspective. See, Violet is Anya's granddaughter, so she's a connected person for Anya. So in this case, the deemed sale consideration will be the market value on the date of transfer. Correct? So let's write that down. Part A, CGT implications offer of gift of painting to Anya. Okay. Deemed sale consideration. Okay, now first of all, let's write down the fact that Violet is Anya's granddaughter. So she is a connected person for Anya. So deemed sale consideration will be equal to market value on date of transfer. Okay. So deemed sale consideration is how much? 63,000 less cost of acquisition minus 1,04,000. There will be a capital loss. कितने का capital loss? आपका capital loss होगा 41,000 का. ठीक है. Now, since this capital loss was incurred on transfer to a connected person, it can be offset only against a gain earned from the same related person. ठीक है. Just give me 1 second, Aksh. ठीक है. So it can only be offset against a capital gain earned from the same person. Okay. यहाँ पे वो पॉइंट भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है. दिस इज ऑल दैट यू हैव टू राइट. इतना लिख के आपका काम हो जाएगा. नाउ लेट्स थिंक अबाउट द इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स implications. See, she was alive because she is expected to die on 6th of September. She made the gift on 1st of August 2025. ठीक है. The gift of painting will be a potentially exempt transfer for IHT purposes, which will become chargeable when Anya dies on 6th of September 2026. ठीक है. And the gift to Flava was done on 1st of July 2025. 50,000 का gift हो गया, cash gift to Flava on 1st of July 2025. So annual exemption would have been used against it already. ठीक है. Then this person, she made one previous lifetime gift of $390,000. She gave Kara an investment property worth 390. So NRB also would have been used against 390,000. So NRB भी यूज हो गया. No nil rate band available, no annual exemption, right? And taper relief भी नहीं होगा because Anya's death occurs within 3 years of the gift. So when she dies, there will be an IHT liability at the rate of 40%. ठीक है. Let's write that down. IHT implications of gift of painting to Violet, not to Anya, to Violet. ठीक है. So Anya made a gift on 1st of August 25 when she was alive. ठीक है. This will be considered a potentially exempt transfer. ठीक है. The gift to Flava was made on 1st of July 25 and okay, gift to Flava was made on 1st of July 25 and therefore annual exemption of current year as well as annual exemption brought forward of previous year would have been used against gift to Flava. So no annual exemption available against this gift. ठीक है. Then during her lifetime, Anya gifted an investment property in 2024 to Kara for whose value was 3,90,000. The NRB of 3,25,000 must have been adjusted against this gift. So no NRB on gift made to Anya. Sorry, on gift made to Violet. ठीक है. Also,
So,
हाँ.
so you have not mentioned the gift amount above 50,000 cash gift.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a difference because ठीक है, लिखना है तो लिख सकते हैं, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Also, uh, the time between date of gift and date of death is less than 5 years, less than 3 years. So no taper relief, correct? So IHT payable on death will be 63,000 into 40%. How much is that? 63,000 into 40%, 25,200. ठीक है, दिस इज द फर्स्ट पार्ट, वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, यहाँ पे आपको 6 मार्क्स मिल जाएगा। ठीक है, अभी एक और देखो। In relation to Anya's proposed gift of Chusky Limited shares to Kara on 1st of September 2025, advise on the availability of gift holdover relief and any consequences for Kara of this relief being claimed. Gift holdover relief है for respect in respect of the shares transferred. Anya acquired 100% of the ordinary shares in Chusky Limited on 1st of May 2011. Chusky Limited is an unquoted trading company. The market values of assets owned by Chusky Limited will be land and building 853, equipment no item worth more than 6,000, 2% shareholding in RQ Limited held as an investment, inventory and cash 43,000. Okay. Now, gift holdover relief. The gift of shares in Chusky Limited will be eligible for gift holdover relief. Why? Chusky Limited is an unquoted trading company. Kara, who's the recipient, she is tax resident in the UK. And it is Chusky Limited is Anya's personal trading company, right? So the gift holdover relief will be restricted to the chargeable business assets, right? है ना? So you will have to calculate chargeable assets and chargeable business assets, and you will have to restrict the availability of gift holdover relief. ठीक है, now let's write that down. Part B, availability of gift holdover relief. The gift of shares in Chusky Limited will qualify for gift holdover relief as Chusky Limited is an unquoted trading company, right? The recipient is resident in the United Kingdom, है ना? And Chusky Limited is her personal trading company, so gift holdover relief will be restricted. Chusky Limited is her personal trading company, so gift holdover relief will be restricted with reference to chargeable business assets, है ना? अब आप निकालो सबसे पहले अपना chargeable assets and chargeable business assets. ठीक है, अब क्या क्या है, what are the C853 land and building is a chargeable business asset. ठीक है, equipment no item worth more than 6,000, so this is an exempt item. 78,000 is an मतलब 78 is not exempt. Equipment no item worth more than 6,000 है तो ये exempt हो जाएगा. Inventory and cash is not a capital asset. 2% shareholding in RQ Limited is a capital asset. It is a chargeable asset, but it is not a chargeable business asset. Chargeable business asset सिर्फ land and building है ना? So chargeable business asset, write 8,53,000, and this will be 8,53,000 plus 60,000. 8,53,000 plus 60,000. Okay. Now, so the amount of gift holdover relief will be restricted to 8,53,000 upon 9,30,000 of the amount of gain. तो जो भी gain होगा, you will have to multiply that by 853 upon 9,30,000. ठीक है? This is the availability of gift holdover relief. They had asked you advice on the availability, which you did, and any consequences for Kara of this relief being claimed. See, if Anya claims gift holdover relief, क्या होगा? Her gain will become exempt to that extent, but whatever is the amount of gift holdover relief claimed by Anya, the recipient Kara उसका बेस कॉस्ट विल बी रिड्यूस्ड बाय द अमाउंट ऑफ गिफ्ट होल्ड ओवर रिलीफ क्लेम्ड, राइट? ऐसे ही होता है ना। सो जो डोनर है, जो गिवर है, उसका गेन बिकम्स एग्जेम्प्ट, बट जो रेसिपेंट है, जो डोनी है, उसका बेस कॉस्ट गेट्स रिड्यूस्ड बाय द अमाउंट ऑफ गिफ्ट होल्ड ओवर रिलीफ, करेक्ट? सो consequences for Kara. Kara is the recipient of gift, which is shares. Now, when the donor claims gift holdover relief, his gain becomes exempt to the extent of relief claimed. But if the so and in this case, the base cost of asset for the donee gets reduced by the amount of relief claimed by the donor. ठीक है? So base cost of shares for her will be reduced. So in the future, whenever Kara sells the shares, her gain value will be a greater, है ना? उसका cost of acquisition कम हो जाएगा because of that base cost will get adjusted. So naturally in the future, what will happen is उसका whenever she sells the assets, her capital gain will be reduced. Correct? अब advice on the availability
So,
of business. Yes, Akshay.
don't you think the chargeable business asset will be 8,53,000?
What have I
You
written?
write there 9,13,000. And chargeable asset will be 9,13,000.
उल्टा है, उल्टा है. My bad. Thanks for note. मैंने ऊपर नीचे लिख दिया. ठीक है. Thank you. Advice on the availability of BPR in calculating IHT liability on this gift as a result of Anya's death and any additional conditions for Kara attaching to this relief. बिजनेस प्रॉपर्टी रिलीफ जो है वो आपको चार चीजों पे मिलता है, राइट? वन इज अनइनकॉर्पोरेटेड बिजनेस, कोटेड शेयर्स एंड असेट्स इन अ पार्टनरशिप और अ पर्सनल ट्रेडिंग कंपनी, राइट? यू वांट मी टू ओपन द शीट? लेट्स ओपन द शीट एक बार. आईएचटी के रिलीफ्स. यस, ओपन द राइट शीट. यहां पे देखो, unincorporated business 100% relief, unquoted shares and securities 100% relief, quoted shares and securities 50% relief, land and building, plant or machinery 50% relief. Unquoted shares में including AIM listed shares मतलब alternative markets, relief on shares is available regardless of the number of shares held, and relief is also available for securities in an unquoted company, but only if the individual has voting control of the company immediately before the transfer based on share ownership. ठीक है? So in this case the same conditions will apply, है ना? बीपीआर क्या होगा यहाँ पे? Business property relief will be available at 100% because these are shares in an unquoted trading company. And Anya has held the shares for more than 2 years prior to the date of gift, तो उसको बीपीआर तो मिल जाएगा. सी चस्की लिमिटेड असेट्स इंक्लूड शेयर्स इन आरक्यू लिमिटेड, है ना? यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? It includes shares in RQ Limited worth 60,000, right? So, these shares, do you agree they fall in the definition of accepted assets? Right? So, because they fall in the definition of accepted assets, relief will be restricted to the proportion, मतलब proportionately वो कम हो जाएगा, right? So, and acha, Kara must still hold the shares at the date of Anya's death in order for the BPR to be available, and the shares must still be relevant to business property. I think this is one point on the date of death, that we often tend to ignore. So, a couple of points that you need to keep in mind. This question becomes all the more critical because it also talks about concepts like accepted assets, which, we might tend to ignore. And see, when you are talking about availability of BPR, don't just talk about the fact that these are unquoted shares. Sorry, these are shares in an unquoted trading company. Also mention the fact that she was holding on to the shares for 2 years before the date of transfer. Otherwise, qualifying period वाला condition fulfill नहीं होगा. Point one. Point two, वो accepted assets को आपको highlight करना पड़ेगा. That will enhance the quality of your answer. Correct? ये जो shares है, investment in this other company, 2% shareholding in RQ Limited held as an investment, ये accepted asset है. So to that BPR will get restricted, and for her to continue to claim the relief, she should be holding the shares on the date of Anya's death also. Correct? Okay. एक बार देखो, read the availability of BPR point. ठीक है, चलो last part. Calculate the reduction in Anya's post-tax income for the year 25-26 as compared with the year 24-25 on the assumption that she gifts all of her shares in Chusky Limited to Kara as planned. है ना? अब उसके लिए we'll have to understand what all are her sources of income. She has gross annual taxable pension income of 65. Her only other source of income has been dividend from Chusky Limited. Chusky paid a dividend of 40,000 in respect of ordinary shares on 14 Jan 25 and will pay a dividend of 34,000 on 13th of Jan 2026. ठीक है. So what will be the implications for her? ठीक है. What they have asked you is calculate the reduction in Anya's post-tax income for the year 25-26 as compared with the tax year 24-25 on the assumption that she gifts all of her shares in Chusky Limited to Kara Limited as planned. So basically आपको क्या करना है, 24-25 का post-tax income निकालना है. Then you have to calculate post-tax income of 25-26. ठीक है, फिर आप उस पे you will calculate the tax liability. Part C, calculation of post-tax income. Particulars, then tax year 24-25 and tax year 25-26 after the gift of shares, है ना? So मैं यहाँ पे लिखूंगा tax year 24-25 and tax year 2025-26. इसमें थोड़ा सा elaborate calculation might be required. Let's see. पेंशन इनकम कितना है, 65,000. 65 है ना? हाँ. डिविडेंड फ्रॉम चस्की लिमिटेड 40,000 in 25. डिविडेंड इनकम 40,000. ठीक है. टोटल इनकम ठीक है, लेस पर्सनल अलाउंस. हर adjusted income is above 1 lakh, है ना? So reduction in PA is 50% of adjusted net income minus 1 lakh, right? So reduction in PA is 50% into 1,05,000 minus 1 lakh, which is 2500. This is the reduction in PA. So updated PA value will be 12,570 माइनस 2,500 कितना होगा? 100,070 माइनस 100,070। यहाँ पे बट फुल 12,570 मिलेगा इन टैक्स ईयर 25-26। उसके बाद आएगा आपका टैक्सेबल इनकम 94,930, 52,430। What is the order of taxation?
नॉन सेविंग सेविंग्स डिविडेंड।
Very good. Non-saving, savings, dividend. ठीक है. How will you tax it? So, tax on 37,700 at the rate of 20%. है ना? This is non-savings, right? कितना हो जाएगा? 37,700 into 20%. Then नेक्स्ट ईयर में, सॉरी नेक्स्ट स्लैब में,
500 का डिविडेंड का
नहीं नहीं,
0%।
अभी तक दिस, सी 65,000, 40,000, 100,700। सी व्हेन यू राइट इट दिस वे ना, थोड़ा इट बिकम्स इजियर फॉर यू, राइट? वो वर्टिकल में इट्स, वी आर नॉट यूज टू दैट अप्रोच, तो थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन हो जाता है कभी कभी। 37,700 यू हैव टैक्स्ड ऑलरेडी, सो कितना बचा? 37,700 इज लेफ्ट, इज इट 94,930 है ना? हाँ, सो 17,230, tax on 17,230 at the rate of 40%, non-savings 6892। ठीक है. देन अब आप आगे आइए इन डिविडेंड, टैक्स ऑन 500 at the rate of 0%, dividend nil rate band, right? And tax on 39,500 at the rate of 33.75%, dividend income in the higher rate band. ठीक है. So 39,500 into 33.75%. So total tax liability 27763. इसका कैसे करेंगे 52,430 का? उसको भी यू नो व्हाट, वी शुड राइट इट दिस वे, ये तो है ही नहीं। 52,430 है ना? सो 37,700 पे टैक्स एट द रेट ऑफ 20%, देन टैक्स ऑन 14,730 एट द रेट ऑफ 40%, नॉन सेविंग्स वो यहां आएगा, है ना? 14,730 इंटू 40%, 5892 हो जाएगा। 13,432। ठीक है. अब ये हो गया आपका टैक्स लाइबिलिटी। अपने को निकालना क्या है? वी हैव टू कैलकुलेट पोस्ट टैक्स इनकम, राइट? पोस्ट टैक्स इनकम, टोटल इनकम माइनस टोटल टैक्स। कितने से कम हुआ इसका पोस्ट टैक्स इनकम? द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू फिगर्स, राइट? ये तो एकदम बेसिक सा कैलकुलेशन था, है ना? पोस्ट टैक्स इनकम रिड्यूस्ड बाय 25,669। दिस इज रिडक्शन इन पोस्ट टैक्स इनकम। बस कैलकुलेशन हैवी था दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट, it wasn't necessarily concept heavy, and you just needed to be careful in terms of your calculation. Now what happens is people often make the mistake of, you know वो जल्दबाजी में they will end up doing something and then they will keep on crying over it for a long time. वो just do it slowly but do it in the right way. ठीक है, चलो एक सेकंड है. You should assume that today's date is 1st of December 2025. State the conditions that must be satisfied for Ash's assignment of the lease to be an associated disposal for the purpose of business asset disposal relief. Calculate Ash's capital gains tax liability for the year 24-25 on the assumption that assignment of the lease does not qualify as an associate disposal and that business asset disposal relief will be claimed where possible. The following lease percentages should be used where necessary: 37 years, 46 years. Discuss in detail whether the Vulcan partnership may be required to register for VAT and the advantages and disadvantages for the business of registration. Set out the matters that Ash should consider when deciding whether or not to make a claim to reduce the payment on account of income tax due on 31st of Jan 2026. You should assume that today's date is 1st of December 2025. Ash requires advice in respect of the availability of business asset disposal relief in respect of the assignment of a lease and the potential capital gains tax liability, the requirement for his partnership to register for value added tax, and the reduction of his income tax payments on account. Ash is resident in the UK. He had a taxable income of 29,000 in the year 24-25, was the owner and managing director of Lava Limited until 1st of May 2024, when he resigned and sold the company, is a partner in the Vulcan Partnership. The sale disposal of capital assets in the year 24-25. The sale of shares in Lava Limited resulted in a capital gain of 2,35,000, which qualified for BADR. Ash assigned a 37-year lease on property for 1,10,000 on 1st of May. Ash sold 2 hectares of land on 1st of October 24 for 30,000. Ash sold quoted shares and made a capital loss of 16,500 on 1st of November. The lease was previously assigned to Ash for 38,000 when it had 46 years remaining. The property has always been used by Lava for trading purposes. Lava Limited paid Ash rent equivalent to 40% of the market rate in respect of the use of property. Now I want to take you to the BADR discussion. BADR में there is a concept called associated disposals. BADR also applies to assets owned by an individual and used in the individual's personal trading company or partnership, provided the individual also disposes of all or part of the partnership interest or shares as a part of the individual's withdrawal of involvement in the partnership business. These disposals are called as associated disposals. In order for the relief to be available for associated disposals, the individual must not have charged rent to the business for the use of assets. When a full market rent has been charged, the relief available is reduced to nil. When the rent paid is less than the market rate, the relief is restricted on a just and reasonable basis. Once Akshay read this example. ठीक है, ओके, चलो, let's uh, let's frame the answer to this one. Okay, let me close that sheet. Part A1. Part A1. So the conditions that need to be satisfied for assignment of lease to qualify as an associated disposal. The following conditions need to be satisfied for assignment of lease to be treated as an associated disposal for BADR purposes. What are the conditions? Disposal of shares in Lava Limited must qualify for BADR. Disposal of shares in Lava Limited should qualify for BADR. ठीक है. The lease must have been owned by Ash. Lease must have been owned by Ash and used for the purpose of trade of Lava Limited. And used for the purposes of trade of Lava Limited for at least 2 years. है ना? Qualifying period वाला condition है. And Ash must have sold the shares in Lava Limited and the lease as a part of the process of withdrawing from the business of Lava Limited. Ash must have sold the lease, must have sold the shares in Lava Limited, must have sold the shares in Lava Limited and the lease as a part of withdrawing from participating in business of Lava Limited. And since Ash charged 40% of the market rent to Lava Limited and not the full rent amount, the amount of relief is restricted to 60%. उसने कमर्शियल रेंट का 40% चार्ज किया, सो रिलीफ इज रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू 60%. ठीक है. ओके. Calculate Ash's CGT liability for the year 24-25 on the assumption that the assignment of lease does qualify as an associated disposal and BADR will be claimed wherever possible. The following lease percentages should be used where necessary. 37 years का दिया है and 46 years का दिया है. Now pay attention. Now, Ash का disposal of capital assets में क्या क्या आया? Sale of shares in Lava Limited resulted in a gain of 2,35,000, which qualified for BADR. Ash assigned a 37-year lease on a property for 1,10,000 on 1st of May. Ash sold 2 hectares of land on 1st of October 2024 for 30,000. Ash sold quoted shares and made a capital loss of 16,500. ठीक है. Now, what they have asked you is they have asked you calculate CGT liability. ठीक है. अब how will you, on the assumption that a BADR will be claimed where possible? Now, in this case, see the lease was previously assigned to Ash for 31,800 when it had 46 years remaining. Now there are 37 years remaining. है ना? अब you assigned the lease for 1,10,000, you purchased it for 31,800, right? So you will have to calculate, वो proportionate calculation करना पड़ेगा आपको on assignment of lease. ठीक है. So part A 2. Working notes. Working note 1, gain on assignment of lease. ठीक है. अब प्रोसीड्स ऑन डिस्पोजल ऑफ लीज कितना है? 1,10,000 लेस डीम्ड कॉस्ट ऑफ, नॉट डीम्ड कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, यहां पे आएगा लेस कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन। आपने खरीदा 31,800 में, है ना? द लीज वॉज असाइन टू यू फॉर 31,800 इंटू 93.497 डिवाइडेड बाय 98.490, है ना? सो 31,800 इंटू 93.497 divided by 98.490. 31,800 into 93.497 divided by 98.490. ठीक है? So you will have chargeable gain कितना? 79,812. So ये एक हो गया ऑन लीज। What else did he dispose of? He disposed of 2 hectares of land for 30,000. Ash purchased 8 hectares of land for 27,400. Ash sold 6 hectares of land for 42,000 on 1st of August. The remaining 2 hectares of land were worth 18,000 on 1st of August 2020. So how will you calculate gain on disposal of land? First of all, you will have to calculate gain on part disposal of 6 hectares out of 8. Correct? है ना? कैसे करेंगे बताओ? What are the proceeds on disposal? 30,000 is the proceeds on disposal. ठीक है? ओरिजिनल कॉस्ट कितना था? ओरिजिनल कॉस्ट वॉज 27,400, राइट? अब 27,400 में से when this 42,000 वाला पार्ट was sold, at that time you will have to calculate the proportionate cost into A upon A plus B, right? So working note 2, gain on sale of land, cost of acquisition of 8 hectares of land। ठीक है? 8 hectares of land का था 27,400। ठीक है? Then sold 6 hectares for 42। 6 hectares were sold for 42 and value of 2 hectares of land remaining is 18,000. So proportionate cost of 6 hectares sold will be cost into A upon A plus B, है ना? So 27,400 into 42,000 upon 42,000 plus 18,000, 19,180. So cost of remaining 2 hectares of land कितना हो जाएगा? Will it not be 27,400 minus 19,180? 27,400 minus 19,180. See, 6 हेक्टेयर पहले बिका ना? 6 hectares was sold first, so the proportionate calculation you did for 6 hectares. Now 2 hectares is left, उसका cost है 8,220. ठीक है? What are the proceeds on disposal of 2 hectares of land? कितना है? 30,000. So chargeable gain on disposal of land 30,000 minus 8,220 कितना हो गया? 21,780. तो आप देखो यहाँ पे 79,812 है, यहाँ पे 21,780 है। दो चीजों का हो गया है। ठीक है। व्हाट एल्स इज देयर? Ash sold previous quoted shares and made a capital loss of 16,500। ठीक है। अब शुड नाउ वी शुड प्रोसीड टू कैलकुलेशन ऑफ सीजीटी, है ना, सीजीटी लाइबिलिटी। नाउ हाउ मेनी ऑफ दीज असेट्स विल क्वालिफाई फॉर बीएडीआर? Sale of shares in Lava Limited, which qualified for BADR. Will the assignment of lease qualify for BADR? See, ऐसे तो BADR is applicable when you are disposing of the entire business. But if you are disposing of individual assets in a business which you have closed down or from which you have, exited, either up exit you have exited the business and now you are selling off individual assets of the business, that also qualifies for BADR. Correct? So ये तो हो गया। And apart from that, see, Lava Limited paid Ash rent equivalent to 40%. So 40% वाला part जो है, that will not qualify for BADR, but 60% will qualify for BADR, right? Gain on sale of land is an individual item, will not qualify. Loss on sale of quoted shares will also not qualify. So calculation of capital gain and CGT liability. Particulars. Qualifying for BADR. Disposal of shares in Lava Limited, 2,35,000. Disposal of, sorry, assignment of lease. So here I will mention that Ash charged 40% of the market rent. So 40% of the gain on assignment of lease will qualify for BADR, and remaining or rather will not qualify for BADR. ठीक है, will not qualify for BADR, and remaining 60% will qualify for BADR. कितना है इसका ओवरऑल गेन? 79,000 समथिंग था ना?
79,812।
79,812। तो 79,812 इंटू 60% एंड 79,812 इंटू 40%। ठीक है। उसके बाद गेन ऑन सेल ऑफ लैंड 21,780, not qualify for BADR, and loss on sale of shares 16,500। ठीक है। सो आपका आएगा कैपिटल गेन। ठीक है। एक बार कैपिटल गेन आ गया, उसके बाद यू विल हैव टू सब्ट्रैक्ट योर एनुअल एग्जेम्प्ट अमाउंट लेस एनुअल एग्जेम्प्ट अमाउंट -3,000। ठीक है। उसके बाद बचेगा आपका taxable gain, correct? अब gains qualifying for BADR पे 10%, gains not qualifying for BADR पे 20%. CGT at 10% on gains qualifying for BADR and CGT at the rate of 20% for gains not qualifying for BADR. This into 10%, this into 20%. Are you with me? ठीक है? This is how you will calculate the CGT. This was the second part of the question. See, not tough. Okay. I wouldn't call this a tough question, but I will definitely say that this question tests your patience. आपका पेशेंस टेस्ट करेगा कि आर यू पेशेंटली डूइंग ईच कैलकुलेशन, आर यू पेइंग अटेंशन टू द प्रोविजंस, आर यू ट्राइंग टू रिकलेक्ट द प्रोविजन, आप रेट बराबर लगा रहे हो, आर यू अप्लाइंग योर माइंड टू एडजस्ट एईए अगेंस्ट गेन्स नॉट क्वालिफाइंग फॉर बीएडीआर। तो ये सारा कुछ आपको अगर शांति से किया, यू विल गेट फुल 7 मार्क्स ऑन दैट। ठीक है। नाउ discuss in detail whether Vulcan partnership may be required to register for VAT and advantages and disadvantages for the business of registration. Advantages and disadvantages of VAT registration we have already discussed, right? This company has a 31 March year end. This partnership has monthly turnover of standard supplies 550, zero rated supplies 6200, exempt supplies 100. Its turnover is expected to increase slightly in 2026. None of its customers are registered for VAT. Should you be registered for VAT in this case? That is the question. Okay. Now, taxable supplies कितना है in a 12-month period? एक है आपका 515 प्लस है आपका 6200 into 12 करो 81,000 है। What is the threshold for registration? The threshold for registration
90.
90,000 है ना? So Vulcan Limited because of that is not required to register for VAT. ठीक है, बट वहां पे लिखा है कि यार there might be a slight increase in 2026. So if it reaches closer to 90,000 तो आपको registration करना पड़ेगा specifically. So mention that point. Otherwise, see, and most of its customers are not VAT registered. So unnecessarily, why do you want to increase the price of goods for them? तो मत करो VAT register unless it is absolutely compulsory. ठीक है। एंड एडवांटेजेस एंड डिसएडवांटेजेस ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन वो तो हम बहुत बार देख चुके हैं। ठीक है।
So we have to mention the voluntary registration part.
हाँ मतलब
That 81,000 voluntary.
और यहाँ पे सी यू कैन स्पीक अबाउट वॉलंटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन, बट यहाँ पे इट मेक्स नो सेंस ना, बिकॉज सी नन ऑफ इट्स कस्टमर्स आर वैट रजिस्टर्ड। अगर कस्टमर्स वैट रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है तो उनके लिए तो प्राइस इंक्रीज हो जाएगा एंड दे विल नॉट बी एबल टू क्लेम आईटीसी ऑल्सो ना, तो मेक्स नो सेंस टू डू दैट। ठीक है।
Okay.
Set out the matters that Ash should consider when deciding whether or not to make a claim to reduce the payment on account. ठीक है। पेमेंट फॉर अकाउंट, पेमेंट ऑन अकाउंट, नॉट पेमेंट फॉर अकाउंट, पेमेंट ऑन अकाउंट is due on 31st of Jan 2026, right? For the tax year 25-26 इसका 31st of Jan 2026 को फर्स्ट पेमेंट ऑन अकाउंट होगा। द पेमेंट ड्यू इज हाफ ऑफ द इनकम टैक्स पेएबल फॉर द प्रीवियस ईयर, अनलेस क्या होगा, अनलेस Ash makes a claim to reduce the payment. See, he can make a claim to reduce the payment if he expects that the amount payable for tax year 25-26 is going to be less than 24-25, है ना? Ash will need to estimate his income payable for 25-26 in order to decide whether or not to reduce the payment on account. Ash will be charged interest if the payment on account is reduced to less than half of the final agreed payable for 25-26, and a penalty may be charged for fraudulent or negligent payment, right? तो आपको वो एक पार्ट लिखना है, फुल थियरी आंसर है, नथिंग डिफिकल्ट इन दिस वन, ठीक है। बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ड्राइव एट इज कि ये देखो, ये 3 मार्क्स फुल फ्लेजेड थियरी था। इफ यू रिमेंबर पेमेंट ऑन अकाउंट यू विल बी एबल टू टैकल। ये बीएडीआर में लास्ट टैब में है, यू माइट डीम इट एज लेस इंपॉर्टेंट और नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, और उसी पे 3 मार्क्स का आ गया, राइट। सो एवरी सिंगल एस्पेक्ट इन योर सिलेबस इज इंपॉर्टेंट, किसी को भी इग्नोर मत करना, यू स्टिल हैव अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू प्रिपेयर, सो वर्क ऑन दैट प्रॉपरली, ओके।